today, readers and listeners. My name is Lindsay Painter. I'm very happy to be here today with Ariadna Bates, who is here to share her story with us. Ariadna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Ariadna. I'm a 20-year-old filmmaker, primarily freelance work. I contract with a lot of different people and companies and churches and things like that. And I, up until just recently, went to Southern Adventist University as a religious studies major with a film production minor.
So my first question for you is, I would like to know a little bit more about you.
Sure, yeah. I am from Asheville, North Carolina. I moved around a bunch as a kid, but Asheville was really what felt like home. I had grown up in a small town in Alabama, and then we moved to Asheville right as I was getting into high school. And it just it was a good place for me to grow into myself. And so right at the tail end of that, after 5 years there, I moved out of my parents' house as soon as I turned 18 because of some heavy emotional and physical abuse growing up. And so from there, I had some family in Chattanooga. I wasn't really sure where to go. I got constant subsidy because my dad was a pastor, what the church still is. And so I moved to Chattanooga. And so I immediately started going to Southern when I got there because it was a place to live. It was an education. It was food to eat. Because of that subsidy, it was very cheap. And so that's kind of how I ended up at Southern. I didn't really have a choice in it, really. It was just what made sense logically.
So there has been some controversy surrounding you lately regarding some policies at Southern Adventist University. From your perspective, tell us what happened.
Sure. The policy actually has very little to do with it, which is the funny part. So I came out February 2nd, I believe it was, as trans on social media publicly. And the reason that I did that was because a lot of things in my personal life lined up that way. And I had heard whispers about a policy that Southern was drafting about a lot of different things, but it included a clause about trans students. And this would make Southern the first Seventh-day Adventist university and organization of the Seventh-day Adventist Church even that had an official policy on trans members or students. And it wasn't looking very favorably. And so I thought, if I come out now, I can get ahead of that. I could be kind of grandfathered in once it goes into effect. Let's be proactive about this. And so I came out. I was pretty quiet for a little bit. And then I got called into my supervisor's office because I worked in recruiting at Southern. And I was told there's this policy that's being drafted. It's going to go into effect in about a couple weeks. And it includes dress code for trans students requiring you to dress as your assigned gender at birth. And I was asked if I was comfortable doing that. And if I was not comfortable doing that, then I would be asked to resign from my position as a Southern recruiter. We left that meeting essentially with the understanding that we would wait and see what happened with the policy and then go from there. That evening, I was a scared 20-year-old who was facing losing her job. And I posted a video on TikTok explaining what was told to me that day and kind of my fears for the future. I had a very small TikTok following, maybe a few hundred people. And I posted that video right before bed. And when I woke up, it had 50,000 views. It just blew up. And it's currently sitting at, I think, 290K. But that kind of started this chain reaction of updates and what was happening with the situation, because a lot of people have been hurt by the church and a lot of people want to know what's happening in the church to people like me. So on Thursday, I was called into the vice president of admissions office, who was my top boss. And I was told that because of my social media posts that put Southern in a disparaging light, I would be put on indefinite paid administrative leave from my position in recruiting because it was contrary to my mission of my job. I was on leave for about 2 weeks before I was called in again and told that because the updates and the honesty about what Southern was doing on social media had not stopped, I was being terminated. And so that afternoon, within an hour of that, I also got a text from my dad saying that my conference subsidy was being removed, that he was removing that authorization. And so I decided that day to withdraw from Southern.
Wow, that must have been really intense for you.
It was a hell of a day.
I bet. Wow. If I gave you a magic wand and made you in charge of changing whatever you wanted at Southern regarding this policy or whatever they're doing there, what would you do? What changes would you like to see?
A lot of it's been done already, and I'm really thankful for that. Because of me not giving up, posting about it, things started to happen. People started to listen. The policy was postponed until next semester. Hopefully it'll go further because of student pressure, is what we were told. We were loud and it worked. We also had a meeting with one of the top administrators of Southern who came to us personally and said, we want to hear. I want to hear your stories. And so we were able to share our personal stories. And we made some progress in that meeting, which I'm really thankful for. I've also heard that multiple other Adventist universities are taking steps. Walla Walla University, the Student Senate is proposing a bill that will actively protect trans students on campus rather than leaving them in the shadows to let the university walk all over them without anyone knowing. La Sierra, the students there are riled up. PUC, Andrews, things are happening. And so while yes, I would love for trans students to be embraced and celebrated at Adventist universities, I know that that is very different from Adventist doctrine and that will most likely never happen. And so the things that I'm seeing currently happening, while they're not the ideal, they are a very encouraging step in the right direction.
Wow, it sounds like you've started a domino effect, which is going to benefit trans students in the future at Adventist University. That's fantastic. That must feel good.
It does.
All the stuff you've been through, it must feel good that at least one good thing is starting to come out of that.
It's terrifying that I kind of have that responsibility on my shoulders, but it's really exciting that it's actually going somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So I noticed that you used plural pronouns like we and us. Are there other trans students at Southern that were working with you?
Not directly. There are other trans students at Southern that I know are out, and I am guessing that there are more that are not out. Just in the queer community alone, just as a whole, not counting just trans students, I've had over 150 Southern students come out to me personally on Instagram DMs. And so with the percentage nationwide of 5.6% of the population being out publicly as queer, 150 plus out of 2,700 students is absolutely massive. Mm-hmm. There was a administrator at Southern who took issue with the word community to describe the queer community on campus and said, it's only a couple students, why is it a community? And I think that it's horribly misunderstood just how many of us there are.
I think that's a really important point. I think a lot of Adventists believe that they don't know anyone who's queer. And the truth is they do, they just don't know. So yeah, that's really important. So for you, what do you see moving forward for yourself from this point?
It's a great question. I'm moving to Walla Walla in a couple of weeks, actually a week and a half. And that's really uncertain for me because I don't have that subsidy anymore. So I'm most likely not going to be going to Walla Walla University, but logistically, it makes sense for me to live there. So I'm moving there. I'm currently working on building a larger client base for my freelance. And hopefully I can take that full time. If not, I'm planning on finding work around that area and going from there, most likely pursuing a degree online. But if things work out so that I don't need to have a degree, if my freelance takes off and I can do that, then I'll just stick with that.
So I have kind of two related questions. I would like to know how our Adventist Today audience can support you personally, and also how can our Adventist Today audience support Adventist trans young people?
Let me start with the second one first because I don't like talking about myself. As far as supporting trans Adventist young people, just be loud. I posted a tweet today about how I'm tired of hearing people say, especially straight cis people, say, you're so brave, you're so courageous, you're so strong, because I shouldn't have to be. I shouldn't be in an environment where being myself is brave. And so by creating a culture within the church that holds the church itself accountable for its discrimination, you automatically create a safer environment for everyone. And so be open-minded, be willing to learn, be willing to hear from your queer friends, from your friends that you don't know are queer. just be open to it, and then stand up for them when things happen like what's happening to me. But even on a smaller scale, when someone isn't allowed to hold a church office because they're queer, stand up for them, be loud about it, make a fuss. So then it's not only the queer people making a noise about it, because unfortunately in our church, straight voices matter more than queer voices when it comes to church administration lists.
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly, the one thing for me right now is just trying to find a job, trying to pay for this move. I started this thing just to make people aware of what's happening. And so nothing that I've done at any point has been to get anything from it. Yes, life is expensive, moving is expensive, but I'm also aware of that. And that was something that I knew ahead of time. And so I haven't gone into any of this looking for money or looking for attention. But yeah, honestly, just what I've gotten so far means a lot. Just backing me up, just posting about the situation, being angry about it, making noise about it. It helps.
Thank you so much for meeting with me. I know you're super busy moving and transferring and all that stuff. So thank you very much. You can find Ariadna on Instagram and TikTok. Are there other places too?
I'm on Twitter. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I guess Facebook too, but who actually uses that?
So yeah, Instagram and TikTok and Twitter are the places you can find her. And she is keeping everybody up to date on what's going on this journey. So thank you again for meeting with me, and good luck to you as you move forward.
Thank you for having me.